Hey everyone, I want to talk today about money. Go figure. But more specifically, I want to talk about rate increases. There are some really important do's and don'ts, and we are going to cover a bunch of them. First, I want to talk about when. When do you increase your rates and when do you not? Then we'll talk about how much. I've got a great little calculating tool that you can use for calculating your rates. It's really helpful. We'll talk about the pushback sometimes you receive and the fear of raising the rates, and many of the fears that as owners and directors that we have all a part of that. So we're going to get to all of that here today, and at the end I'm going to share some really important tips on implementing this in your center. So here we go. All right, first thing let's talk about is when. There's 3 times of year that I think people increase rates. Let me go back in reverse order here. The worst possible time is at the end of the school year. This summer, I think the summers can, for a lot of centers, be a tough transition. Summer months tend to be a little bit, could be slower. Every facility is different. But I don't like increasing rates in the summer because I think it's time where anytime you're trying to fill your program is not the time to raise your rates. The second worst time is at the beginning of the school year. I believe that, again, the same thing is filling your center at the beginning of the school year, not the time to increase rates when people are shopping, which leads me to the best time to increase your rates, which is January 1, for several reasons. Number one, all of your families are already enrolled in your program. They're in the middle of the school year, and very few rather, I believe, are going to want to jump ship and start shopping a new facility, preschool, child care center, whatever kind of program you're running, or a combination of the two, in the middle of the school year. They're going to want to keep their kiddo there. They don't want to switch just for that small amount for half a school year. So you have a locked-in group of kids in the middle of the school year. Biggest issue. Number 2 is that is when wages go up. So when minimum wage goes up every year, wages go up, naturally rates are going to go up as well. So it's a common sense time of the year to raise your rates, and calculating it when you have a full roster in the middle of a school year, I think, is the best time to raise it. So hopefully that's good advice for you. How much are you going to raise your rates? So, over the years, I've struggled with raising my rates. I think as an owner, you definitely feel sympathy, empathy for some of your families that struggle paycheck to paycheck. And so there's guilt in raising rates. I know that a lot of owners share. And the fear factor, I think, is the biggest one, right? What's going to happen to my center? What's going to happen to my families? What if they can't afford it? Who am I to push them out of childcare, where you feel responsible for their ability to pay or not, and guilty if you're taking food off their table. My gosh, this is the challenge that we have as childcare providers, because so many of you have come right out of that classroom over many, many years, decades some, into administrative roles and now into decision-making roles as owners, and man, it hurts, and you go, well, I think we can get by another year without raising rates. I've been there, I've done it. I've had years where I didn't raise rates. I went as little as 50 cents. I've gone as much as $2 rate increase. So I know it's a struggle, and I really, really encourage you to, again, think about your employees, think about your family, your own family, think about your business and the viability of your business. You'll be no good to your families if you allow your business to suffer, and struggle to the point where you can't keep your doors open. So I really encourage you to be serious about keeping up with the local economy, keeping up with market rates, and continuing to raise your rates annually. And there's a lot of different tricks and trades. I'll get to that at the very end. That'll be some of my secret sauce on implementation. And how to do that, and how to take care of those families that you worry the most about. There are ways to implement rate increases without even touching those families, and we'll talk about that at the very end of this video. Let's talk a little bit about how much. I'm going to show you a rate chart here. it's a great tool that can help you determine where you're at with your rates. So here's a scenario, and if you want access to this type of a spreadsheet, just reach out to me, and I'll be happy to get you in contact with this sheet, share it with you, so that you can begin using this for your center. So anyway, here we go. So this is my rate increase rate chart, and you can modify this to fit your facility. In this situation, we've got 10 infants, you've got 10 toddlers, we've got a classroom of 20, we'll call them 3-year-olds, a classroom of 24, we'll call it 4 and 5-year-olds, and then you've got a school age program. Let's say you average 15 kids in your school age program. Current rates are such: 40 for infants, 38 for toddlers, let's just say 2s, and then 33 for 3s, also 33 for 4s and 5s, and $20 for before and after school. So you'll have other rates, of course, you can micromanage those. But this formula says that if you take, there's 250 days in the year, which we're open typically about 250, 252. So 10 kids at $40 a day times 250 days a year that you're open, maximum revenue $100,000. And this works all the way down the board for these other age groups and rates as well. If you were to run at 100% capacity, then adding up all of these different sources of revenue, your maximum revenue at 100% capacity would be $609,600. At 90%, $548. At 80%, $447, and at 70%, $426 and change. So it's important to understand where you're at the beginning, and then now we'll try to figure out where we're going to go. So now the question is, how much? How much am I going to raise my rates? So I would consider this maybe an aggressive rate increase, but a necessary one. Here in Colorado, for the last 5 years, this will be the 5th year, minimum wage has gone up 90 cents a year. So this final year in 2020, we're going up to $12 an hour for minimum wage. You may be in Washington where your minimum wage is $15, $16 or more, or in another part of the country where your minimum wage is less than 10. Regardless, you've got to look at that minimum wage and adjust your rates accordingly. So under this scenario, let's say you decided to raise your rates $2 for infants and toddlers and $1 a day for all of your other rates. Okay? This is simple math and calculators. It's going to tell you that your new rate of 42, 40, 34, and 21. And here is your new potential revenue. So your infant revenue is going to increase by $5,000. Okay? Your toddler revenue also by $5,000, $5,000, and so on. Down here you'll see that your potential revenue now has increased, and let's just pick a number of 90%, from 548 to 569 for a potential revenue increase of 21,000, and that is for the entire center. So you got to figure out how much your payroll is increasing, and then figuring out if you're going to have enough revenue increase to cover that existing payroll. If you want to look at our tool for increasing payroll, you can check that out. We'll put a link to a video up here or description, and then you can utilize that to figure out what your maximum or your increase of payroll is projected to be, and compare that to this chart here of potential revenue increase. All right, so oftentimes with our rate, we're chasing our payroll. Revenue is chasing payroll rather. So with this tool here, let's say you only want to do $1 increase. So you'll be able to plug let's say you're only going to do 50 cents increase on your other rates. So you're going to go to $33.50 for your 3s and 4s. And this formula here, this simple spreadsheet, will be able to calculate that for you. And you can set this up by yourself in Excel, or in this case, Google Sheets, with some simple formulas in there of adding and multiplying and times, taking your revenue times 80% and 70%. So have one of your whiz kids set that up for you. Or again, you can reach out and get access to this tool as well. So you can manipulate this with whatever different increase you're considering doing, and maybe you're not going to increase your school age at all. And then you can see your potential increase over here. It's really important, though, to have a simple tool like this in place in order to anticipate, budget what your new revenues are going to be. Okay, so let's get back to fear real quick. The fear factor of increasing revenue. Number one, are my parents going to leave? Are they going to, how bad is that going to hurt them? Again, it goes back to business strategies. You've got to put your business there first so your business can be in place for decades and decades to serve the children and community that you live in. So these things, they've got to happen. They've got to happen. And I know the challenges that you have. But here's what I've also found is, and depending on your demographics and where you're located, there'll be different portions of pushback. But I believe it's less than you fear. The reality is always less than the amount of families that you fear are going to be pushing back and be struggling with that extra 50 cents or $1. Again, if it's a kiddo that comes 3 days a week and you're going to go up $1 a day, 3 times 50, it's $150 over the year. But for you, that could be a whole nother staff member that you're able to put in place, or be able to take care of raises as you're chasing payroll with revenue, of course. Let me show you real quick a couple of tools I've used to when implementing this with our families. So here's one here. And I know you're going to probably have to zoom in on this a little bit. But this is an example up here at the top of when we posted our rate increase. And so here's how I shared it with our parents. I emailed this and posted this at the center. But I just want to read the couple quick lines here. We'll be raising our tuition rates effective January 1, 2018. Mandated minimum wages increases continue to drive all wages higher and is the reason for this tuition increase. I'm telling it like it is. And then I made this little simple graph. I said 2018 employee payroll increases estimated at $62,000. Additional rate increase revenues estimated at $42,000. Discovery Kids challenge and commitment, $20,000. So that was a $20,000 difference. A $20,000 difference that I said, this is the deficit that we are committed to managing and being and taking on for ourselves. I thought that was a pretty good method of doing that. Here's one more that we did this last year when rates went up in 2019. And the difference here, I didn't have that same graph, but I did say that our full day rates will increase by $2 for 1 and 2 year olds, by $1 for 3 year olds and older. Our part day rates will go up $1 per day. Preschool, school age, and transportation rates will all remain the same. Thank you for your support, making this an amazing place. Now, let me show you some of what I would consider tricks, ways, not tricks, but incentives, as well as ways to help your parents. Okay, here we go. So we implemented a reduced rate. So this says households meeting CACFP, that's our child and adult care food program. If their income falls in the free or reduced categories by those income guidelines, they're going to receive a $2 discount off our full day rate and a $1 discount off our part day rate. So why would I do this? Because if you calculate the difference, if you're on the federal food program, okay, so you're getting reimbursed because you're serving meals during the day and you're following those guidelines. If you look at what your reimbursement rates are at the free and reduced categories compared to the paid categories for households that have income in excess, those differences are in the range of $3 to $4.50 more per child per day. So what I'm trying to do is incentivize families to share with us their income and say, hey, I do fall below these certain income thresholds. Therefore, my facility is going to get paid more, and I'm going to pass on those savings to them. So one way of creating higher rates for higher income households and providing a discount for households that fall in those free reduced. Because net, by charging or by offering those discounted rates, I will earn more income off a family with a child that's 3 years old, private pay paying $33 a day, than I will. I'll actually make less off that family than a family private pay that falls into the free or reduced category, and now they're getting a $2 discount, paying $31 a day, because I'll get that 31 plus the excess of free and reduced income. So you got to kind of factor that in and budget that a couple ways, but that's one way of doing that. Let me talk also about grandfather. So let's say that you are in an area where you have a high amount of CCAP, child care assistance families, and low-income families, and maybe your private pay rate is only, or private pay families are only about 20%, let's say. And so then now let's just make an assumption that you're really struggling with the idea of increasing their rates. You can consider, and this really isn't a recommendation, it's a consideration though, of grandfathering your current families in to their existing rate that they're at right now, and then raising your rates. So now your new published rate is your increased rate for incoming households. So all the new households coming in are going to get that new rate. So you went from 33 to 35. New enrollments are 35, your existing are 33. Here's another idea, because that's not going to increase your revenue immediately. It's going to be slow over time. And it might be 2 to 3 years before you fully feel that effect of that raise. The other issue is that you may just have, in your back pocket or the back buried in your family handbook, maybe an exception clause. If you have a hardship, if you have a tuition hardship, please see the administrator. That's all you have to say. And so the 3 families that are really struggling with that rate increase, that they feel like they may have to look elsewhere, maybe you grandfather them in. And that's just an unpublished policy based on your hardship, suggestion of, if you find a hardship, come reach out to me. So there's several ways of implementing things slower and also grandfathering some people in. But I really think that the critical thing that you do is look at your business plan, look at your total revenue from last year, figure out where that falls in relation to this revenue tool. So if your current revenue is somewhere down in the $485,000 last year, based on these tuition increases, you could expect or make an estimated guess, and that's all this is an estimated guess, that your revenue should jump to about $5,016,480, or a potential increase of $28,800. If you go, hey, my payroll's only going up $20,000, I don't want to hurt my families that much. Again, that's not a great way to phrase this. You can go, okay, I'm going to just do a $2 increase on my infants and toddlers. My revenue's going to go up, or my payroll's going up 20. This should put my revenue increased around 25. That gives me some buffer, and maybe that's where you need to be. So working with these tools, hopefully this is helpful. Appreciate you watching. If you like this video, if it was helpful, please make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss good content. Thanks for watching. If you found the content of this video resourceful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on future content. Thanks for watching.